We begin with Kalibak. Steppenwolf arrives with him. His father, Darkseid, is looking for him. It's time to go to Earth. Before leaving, Steppenwolf tells him that Darkseid wants Grail and Marina alive. Elsewhere, Batman, who is now seated on the Mobius chair, asks it who the Anti-Monitor is. The chair gives him no answer. When he repeats the question, it remains the only one the chair cannot answer for Batman. Hal Jordan urges him to get off the chair before it causes him permanent harm. Batman refuses, telling Hal that this is the only way to obtain information. Cyborg points out that if there's anyone on the team who shouldn't be using the chair, it's Batman. Even though the others insist he step down because of the danger, Batman refuses. Meanwhile, on Apokolips, Lex Luthor and Superman walk through Darkseid's slave camps. Something feels strange to Superman. He can't use his X-ray vision. He suspects there must be lead present. As they move forward, someone cries out death for freedom. Suddenly, a horde of slaves rushes forward, intent on killing Superman to gain their freedom. Lex intervenes, blasting the slaves with energy. Superman begs him not to kill them, reminding him they are only innocent slaves. But Lex retorts that this is Apokolips. There are no innocents here. Then Superman begins to bleed. Lex explains that the reason he can't use his powers is because there is no sunlight. On Earth, Grail cuts her hand to summon her father. She calls upon Darkseid to come for her. Meanwhile, Batman explains to the Justice League who Grail really is, the daughter of an Amazon, born the same day as Diana. Suddenly, Scott Free arrives. Batman, seeing him, immediately identifies him to the League and explains that he has fought against Darkseid. Scott notices Metron and asks what he is doing there. Metron replies that he came to warn them. Scott doesn't believe him, remembering how years ago Metron tricked his father. To prove his sincerity, Scott places the lasso of truth around himself. He tells the League that Darkseid is about to arrive on Earth, and they must leave at once. On the way, he will provide them the information they need. Diana, seeing this, knows he is telling the truth. But Batman refuses to return to Earth until he finds a way to defeat the Anti-Monitor. The chair informs him that the answers lie deep within the universe. Hal offers to accompany him, but Batman refuses. Hal insists that space is his jurisdiction, and besides, the team could use more unity. Before anyone leaves, Scott chains Metron so he cannot escape. He then gives Cyborg some coordinates before departing. On Apokolips, with Superman powerless, he has no choice but to rely on Lex Luthor. Back on Earth, the Anti-Monitor grows impatient. Grail urges him to wait. At that moment, the Justice League arrives. After an exchange of words between Diana and Grail, Darkseid appears with Kalibak, Steppenwolf, and his army of parademons. Darkseid and the Anti-Monitor face each other, staring intently. Grail greets her father and asks him what he is waiting for. The War of Darkseid begins, while the Justice League watches for now. On Apokolips, Superman and Lex are cornered. Luthor decides to drop Superman into the fire pits, since they are a source of solar energy. As Darkseid and the Anti-Monitor clash, a white explosion erupts from where Superman fell. From the flames, Superman emerges transformed. He is now the god of strength. Soon after, Batman and Hal arrive on the crime syndicate's Earth, a parallel world. Batman immediately realizes that the Anti-Monitor slaughtered countless beings there, absorbing their energies to prepare for Darkseid. Still, Batman doesn't understand the true reason for the war. In a heated exchange, Batman tells Hal that he isn't a hero. The ring is the true hero. Hal admits Batman may be right, that the ring grants him power, but insists that doesn't matter now. They have to stop Darkseid. Batman tells him they must travel to the planet Cord, birthplace of the Anti-Monitor. Hal knows the planet well. It's where he once banished Sinestro. Meanwhile, on Earth, massive energy clashes erupt between Darkseid and the Anti-Monitor. Elsewhere, Kalibak battles Grail. Grail taunts him, saying that if he wants to die for Darkseid, then so be it. The Anti-Monitor strikes Darkseid. Mobius declares that Darkseid's existence must end so that his own may be renewed. Grail continues her assault on Kalibak until Diana intervenes to stop her. Back on Apokolips, Superman effortlessly destroys the parademons. He tells Lex that his theory worked after all. Then he asks, "What should we do now?" Lex replies that they must return to Earth. During their tense exchange, Superman asks Lex, "Are you afraid?" Luthor admits he may just be preparing himself for the fight. Superman reminds him that Lex never stood a chance against him. If Luthor ever came close, it was only because Superman held back, but this time will be different. On Earth, Grail tells Diana that killing Darkseid is the ultimate goal of the Amazons, then strikes her with heat vision. The Justice League can do little. Steve suggests separating Darkseid and the Anti-Monitor. Jessica Cruz volunteers to do it, but her ring warns her she cannot, that she could die. Jessica doesn't care. She begins the task, pushing herself to the limit to separate them. Her ring pleads with her to stop or she will die, but she continues. Darkseid suddenly calls for everything to halt. Marina enters the battlefield, and Grail tells her mother that she was right. Darkseid looks desperate. He is already invoking someone. The one he summons is the Black Racer. Calabac snarls that he can smell it. Death has arrived. Flash rushes to hold Jessica. The Black Racer delivers a massive blow to the Anti-Monitor. Meanwhile, Batman and Hal Jordan reach the planet Cord, where they find a chamber. Inside, the Anti-Monitor once built the Mobius chair. Batman learns that the Anti-Monitor's name was Mobius, and that he came to this place to gaze upon the forbidden, only to be cursed for it. Back on Earth, after the Anti-Monitor suffers the devastating strike of the Black Racer, Darkseid can finally attack him freely. Darkseid tells him he should never have listened to Grail, for she deceived him. With relentless fury, Darkseid unleashes his full might, and now the tormented existence of the Anti-Monitor is nearing its end. The Black Racer strikes another powerful blow. Batman continues his investigation and discovers that free will was at the center of the universe. Yes, the very place where everything comes from. Existence itself, gods and men alike. But what was at the center of the antimatter universe? What did Mobius do to become what he is now? He touched the anti-life equation, transforming into its very personification. Meanwhile, on Earth, the Black Racer is about to strike the Anti-Monitor once more. But as part of his plan, Mobius forces Flash to run directly toward the Black Racer. The Anti-Monitor declares that death requires a host. And then we see it. Flash has become the new god of death. The Anti-Monitor taunts Darkseid, saying he knows his one true weakness. Flash cannot control himself. Inside, he hears a voice whispering that all must die. The Anti-Monitor became this because he kept what Darkseid desired. He is forever bound to it. The anti-life equation runs in his veins. We watch as Flash phases straight through Darkseid's body. The gods tremble, for a god has fallen. It is time to witness Darkseid's corpse lying upon the battlefield. Grail and the Anti-Monitor's plan worked exactly as intended. Provoke a war with Darkseid, lure him to Earth, leave him with no choice but to call upon the Black Racer, turn Flash into the god of death, and use him to slay Darkseid. At last, the Anti-Monitor can be free. When Darkseid fell, a blinding red light erupted, the ground shook, and then silence. If a god can die, what comes next? Flash still doesn't fully understand what happened. He killed Darkseid. But Scott Free tells him it wasn't him, it was the Black Racer. Scott explains, the Black Racer was Darkseid's greatest weapon. He claimed to have captured death itself. Perhaps Darkseid invoked it, but somehow the Anti-Monitor seized control over death and forced it into union. Scott laments that this fate has befallen Barry, but Barry replies there's nothing to regret. He isn't like the others. He doesn't want to flee from death. He wants to control it. On Apokolips, Superman hears the news of Darkseid's fall. The mother boxes themselves whisper it to the slaves. Superman grabs Lex and tells him he doesn't need his help to escape this planet. As Superman prepares to leave Apokolips, he ensures Lex goes nowhere. Their rivalry ends today. First, he shatters Lex's armor, then smashes him to the ground. Lex concedes, saying, "Fine, you win." Superman warns him that he will leave him stranded here, and if he survives, he must never return to Earth. Otherwise, Superman will destroy him just as he destroyed his armor. Finally, Superman delivers a brutal punch, leaving Lex broken before departing. After he's gone, others arrive, shouting that they've found a human. Meanwhile, on the planet Cord, Batman knows Darkseid is dead. It's time to return home. Hal asks what about the Anti-Monitor. Batman explains that Mobius touched the anti-life equation. That is why he ceased being Mobius and became the Anti-Monitor. Now that creature is gone, as if it never existed. Batman can return to what matters most. With the Mobius chair, he can finally be the Batman Gotham needs. Hal reminds him that the Bruce he knows would realize this war is far from over. He pleads with Batman to step off the chair. When Hal touches him, he is struck with immense pain. Batman explains that without Darkseid, the parademons are now free across the universe, and they have found the brightest light. Hal then receives a message from OA. Batman tells him to leave. Bruce departs. On Apokolips, Lex tries to flee but is captured and chained. The leader introduces herself. Her name is Ardora. Lex asks what they want from him. She tells him, perhaps nothing, or perhaps everything. A blind prophet wrote that on the night of Darkseid's death, a human would walk through the ashes of Apokolips and everything would change. According to prophecy, that human is one who has saved Metropolis countless times and would bring the same hope to this world. A human, an orphan, a humble son of farmers. Ardora asks Lex Luthor if that human is him. Lex answers that it is. The others kneel before him, but Ardora warns them not to. He has not yet earned it. Suddenly, Lex is struck by a powerful surge of electricity. Back on Earth, Flash tells the others not to fear. Death comes to everyone, young and old. No one can escape it. Suddenly, something begins to happen to Shazam. A voice calls for him to be its new vessel. Shazam is transformed into the god of gods. Shazam departs. Cyborg hears voices. Diana orders the others to prepare. Some must go after Flash, others after Shazam. Kalibak tells his allies not to worry about these new gods, for the Justice League still has their own problems. If Kalibak's father has died, then so too shall the League. On Apokolips, Lex awakens. The leader explains that with Darkseid's death, the Omega effect has been released. That power is returning to Apokolips. They will contain it, but if Lex truly is who he claims, he will be able to withstand it. The energy arrives, striking Lex with devastating force. On Earth, Marina asks Grail where the Anti-Monitor is. She answers, he is in the shadows. He is changing, transforming back into Mobius, revealing himself to her. Grail will now obtain what she has always desired. On Apokolips, a new god rises. Hail Lex Luthor, the new god of Apokolips. Meanwhile, on Earth, Diana and the few remaining members of the Justice League prepare to face Kalibak and the others. Diana fights Kalibak, who demands to know where the Anti-Monitor is. Scott battles Kanto, who wounds him with a blade. Before Kanto can strike again, Big Barda appears. After a brief exchange, Barda drives her sword through Kanto, killing him with ease. She then sets her sights on Steppenwolf. Here we learn that Barda is Scott's wife. Her next target is Kalibak, whom she hurls against Steppenwolf. Scott asks why she's here when he begged her not to get involved. She replies that this was their honeymoon. She wanted them together. Scott insists they cannot be seen together, but she silences him with a kiss. In the Rock of Eternity, Metron wanders without the Mobius chair, utterly lost. A girl appears in a mirror, claiming to be Billy's friend. She asks what he is plotting, warning that if Mobius regains his chair, the universe will be lost. Hearing this, Metron smashes the mirror. Seeking answers, Diana recalls that the crime syndicate once fought the Anti-Monitor. Perhaps they know how to stop him. The League may obtain the answers they need from the remaining members of the syndicate. Steve notes that Owlman is missing, but Ultraman and Superwoman are imprisoned by Argus, classified as Level 0 inmates. No one is allowed to see them. This means they will have to break in by force. Scott and Big Barda volunteer to take them there. Diana tells them to go and learn all they can, while she gathers the rest of the League to form a plan to contain the Anti-Monitor. Cyborg will accompany them to speak with the Syndicate. Steve and Diana share a quiet moment. Steve asks about her and Superman. Diana admits they are friends, more than friends, but she isn't sure what that means right now. They are having a rare moment of intimacy. Suddenly, a voice interrupts. I heard my name. Am I intruding? Superman, now the god of strength, arrives from behind and seizes Steve. Meanwhile, Batman studies images of the Joker. The Anti-Monitor releases a massive explosion. Grail tells her mother that she has been chasing him her whole life, searching for her weapon of vengeance. Diana lunges at Superman to stop him. Cyborg, Scott, and Barda reach the outside of Argus. Flash runs desperately, trying to escape death itself. A sphere of energy bursts from Mobius's body, reaching Grail and her mother. Mobius has finally separated from it. What we see now is the most powerful force in the universe, the anti-life equation. And now, it belongs to Grail. Darkseid's most powerful weapon is hers. Marina is stunned, asking why she would want the anti-life equation. Grail answers, because death is far too merciful for Darkseid. Grail has become the goddess of anti-life. Thank you very much for watching this video. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe for more content like this. I'm TJ Prime, and see you in the next video.